Hi, welcome to Speakeasy. I'm Hayley.
And I'm Jenny.
And we're going to talk about a pretty stressful situation once we're on site, which is dropouts.
Yes.
Usually happens, I would say, it can happen at any time, but I'd say definitely in that month before an event, you suddenly get an email going, I'm really sorry, I'm not coming anymore. And then that's that panic of, oh my God, how am I going to resolve this? And whether it's a solo session, which is obviously a whole gap missing, or if it's just a seat on a panel or a workshop host or something, there's lots of ways to approach a dropout and hopefully resurrect that spot or turn it into something better, maybe.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, if I'm going to get a dropout, please be a month before. I'd rather it's a month before. It does give me time. But, you know, speakers do drop out the night before, the day of.
Yep.
But I mean, when it happens like a month out, it is annoying, but you can almost guilt trip that speaker into like, you need to find me a replacement. That's true. You can almost be like, okay, you can't make it. Great. Find someone else in your company who can represent that point of view. And usually, to be honest, I find most speakers that have dropped out like a month beforehand, sometimes they do feel a bit bad and they will be a bit more proactive in helping out. Or you can just use a pre-panel call to the panelists, the other panelists, and say, we've had a dropout. Is there anyone in your network who could kind of jump in?
Yeah, I mean, I put it in my agreements. I say that for whatever reason, if you're going to drop out, you need to help us source a replacement to the best of abilities. And yeah, like you said, whether it's somebody else in their organisation that can speak on that topic or an industry colleague, industry friend. Most people that are speakers have great networks because that's why they speak. They want to boost their profile in an industry. So they'll know lots of other people that will hopefully be able to talk on the topic. Sometimes works, doesn't always work. Sometimes you do get it where a speaker says, I'm not coming to the event anymore. And I go, okay, well, can you help me find a replacement for your session? And they just kind of wash their hands with the situation and don't reply anymore.
Yep.
And then,
to be honest, they get blacklisted in my book. Unless they're like super, super high up, I tend to, you know, there's a dot against them coming next year.
We do remember those things when somebody has dropped out and there are lots of reasons why people drop out from obviously personal matters and emergencies. That's not something that gets something blacklisted, but it's things like, oh, I'm not coming anymore. And there's not really an explanation as to why. And I'm not saying that we need the full diary entry, but some explanation as to why and just assistance with replacing that spot goes so appreciative and absolutely invite for next year. But otherwise, if it's just, I'm not coming and then nothing else, then we will remember that.
Yeah, I do. I remember it a lot. Because I've had actually speakers then try to come onto another event, not realizing I'm the producer of this other event. And I've been like, I remember the nightmare you caused me. So no, thank you.
I mean, especially when you've got events where you're managing like 100 speakers or something and we want to make their lives easier to deliver the content, but we also need them to help with us to make sure that, you know, we're not going to be outrageously stressed out beforehand trying to tinker with the program and do things. And like I said, dropouts happen for all sorts of reasons. I've had it from, you know, kids are off sick to family bereavement and things, and those are so understandable reasons. Absolutely. But when I've had it of, oh, I've decided I'm going on holiday. And I went, I'm sorry, what? You've just suddenly decided 2 weeks before the event that actually you're going to take the week off and you're off to Mallorca. And I'm like, great. That's a moment for a cross against the name.
Exactly. I think it's just the closer to the event as well. I think that's probably why the sooner you send out those kind of pre-panel, like, hey, everyone, so great that you're going to speak. Like, let's try and book a call with everyone. That is, the sooner you do that, like away from the event, that's when you're going to get the speaker dropouts, because usually it's like you remind them like, hey, this is happening, and then you get the dropouts. So if you leave that too late, you're just causing chaos for yourself. So I think at a minimum it's a month out, and that will give you that month to try and
turn it around.
Exactly. But I mean, then you've got the speakers who drop out on the day.
Yeah. Or in the like 48 hours before the event, and then you're like, crap. And I think it's such a difference between if it's like a solo session or a panel.
Yeah.
Because solo, that's an entire, let's say it's a 25-minute session. That's an entire 25 minutes where nothing is happening on stage. If it's a panel, it's a little bit easier in the sense you've still got your moderator, or unless your moderator drops out, and then that's actually really stressful.
Yeah.
But you've got, let's say minimum 3 speakers and a host. You've still got 2 speakers there, but that's not a panel discussion at that point. I would say that's slightly
like a fireside-ish kind of thing.
With only 2 POVs, but it's not a debate, and you ideally want at least 3 point of views on a panel, I would say.
Kind of why we always try and get 4 panel members confirmed, because
just in case one drops out, you've still got 3.
Exactly. No, and it's true. And I've said this to people as well. Like I'm aware that I'll have all the agenda and all the speakers confirmed, and some of these panels is going to happen.
Yeah.
I think this is where the production or us and our skills come into play, because I've had it before where people say this is where they've seen me thrive in events. It's that moment where someone comes to you and they see it. Like, I've had marketing colleagues come up to me scared to tell me that a speaker's dropped out but emailed marketing instead of me or whatever it was. Yeah. And thinking this is going to turn Jenny into a meltdown because they're meant to speak in 3 hours. And you just end up listening, acknowledging it, and then you go, right, okay. And you start saying, remove them from the website and let's do this. And that's when you have to just be on your feet and think fast. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
So some of the solutions, the easy solutions I would say is if it's anywhere close to a break, yay, longer networking. Sales are going to be happy, probably, there we go. That's the easy solution. It's when it's sandwiched between a long breaks, that is when you need to really start rejigging things.
Or if it's like between, let's say between break and lunch or something, or lunch and break, you've got 4 sessions consecutive or something, and it's one of those middle ones, and you're like, oh my god, what am I going to put there?
Yeah, another easy win, or the easy solution sometimes, is you add extra minutes to the panel before, extra minutes to the panel after. Yay, you get more minutes on stage.
But I think then that could potentially be a topic where the audience really wanted to see that, and then they're disappointed. And there are singular sessions on a program, a singular topic, that's what people go for, and they like everything else that's happening, but for some people that might be their main key issue that they want. And you've identified the theme as something that needs to be covered in a program, and if it's not covered anywhere else, it's like, crap, right, how do you get that back in their working? So obviously all of our industry contacts and people that we're working with, I start emailing around and going, do you know anyone? Give me a name, somebody that could cover this. Or if you're an organisation that maybe has an editorial arm, working with your journalists and your editor to see about a replacement. What else?
To be very honest, because it's true, you're going to get some people who are coming specifically for that person. And I've had delegates come up to me sometimes and moan when we've not had that. I'm not going to lie. I've become more used to just saying, hey, I booked them. They didn't turn up. Ain't my issue. I tried my hardest to get this for you. Because it is true. I'm like, I've delivered all this other content for you. I think that is when I am really on my moment that I can't deal with people anymore at that point. But it's true. Like, if we've tried our hardest, honestly, sometimes if you are just quite open with the person and just be like, look, it's not for a lack of trying, they end up understanding, because it is true. It's not our fault if someone else drops out.
Yeah.
Especially, as I say, I had once where all my ministers dropped out a week before, and it's because the Queen had died. What do you want me to do about ministers not being allowed to speak in public?
Well, this is it. Government's closed. Nothing's happening.
And you had people, but we really wanted to hear them. And I'm like, well, I don't know.
I think they're actually not in office at that point.
No, they weren't allowed. That's why they dropped out.
Well, because what was it? Isn't it, sorry, this is such a divergence, but isn't it obviously when the Queen died and it obviously then transitioned to King Charles, it's King Charles's government. So isn't there a whole thing where am I wrong?
I'm not too sure anymore.
Is a full government being sworn in under the new monarch or
Yeah.
something? I don't know.
Or
But
something-
the thing is, everything closed.
Yeah.
There is literally not a chance of a single minister is going to go and speak at an event when actually, they're all in official mourning.
Yeah.
That's why. So,
and it also happens with the reshuffles, right? So the recent Labour reshuffle meant that some of the ministers that had confirmed to events are no longer the minister of that.
Yeah, of that department. Yeah.
So it happens, right? So I think sometimes just being quite transparent to people and open. If someone really is moaning, just speak to them.
Yeah.
And, they're people at the end of the day.
I remember you've actually reminded me about a dropout case that I had at an event a few years ago, and it was a multi-track event, and in one of the workshop rooms, before and after lunch, you'd have like 3 workshops, one after the other, and in the afternoon, the second session, so sandwiched in between 2, the speaker had dropped out on the day. And we went, no worries, rather than having, just an empty room at that point where obviously delegates are just going to go and sit in there and sit on their phone and stuff. And I don't want that happening in those rooms, because it's when rooms start to get messy and looks really untidy. I don't think it looks nice. So we moved that third session into that second spot. Realised that was a mistake, shouldn't have done that, because first of all, people didn't realise that the time had changed.
Right, yeah.
So it wasn't as well attended of a session. And also then when it got to the time when it was meant to be on, like everybody went there because they really wanted to see the speaker speak. And then they'd just come off stage and finished and all of this, and people were very unhappy. So that's probably my tip, is don't move a session into the previous one, even if it's empty, because
that's true. And sometimes you do
happy.
update stuff on the website. And to be honest, I've had it where in events we've tried to update the website and there'll be whatever bug, and people are getting the older version of the website and they're not seeing it and it's not communicated and things.
Yeah.
But I mean, the other one I've done once is I had a speaker. I mean, did they drop out? I don't know. They basically told me that they were on their way to the venue. And I was like, but you're meant to be on stage in 10 minutes. So I don't really know how that's going to work if you're going to take 30 minutes or 40 minutes.
Oh, no.
So I think we were a bit like, right, what do I do? Because it was the last session of the day as well. So it's either, what are you going to do? Are you going to end it early? And I was thinking, and it was a topic that it is very important for the sector at that time. But it was one that I had really struggled to find speakers who wanted to talk about it, because no one felt ready to speak about it. It was like a new regulation that's come in.
Right.
They all are going to have to deal with it, but none of them really know yet how to deal with it properly. And so they didn't really want to be up on stage and talk about experts. So I already struggled a lot to find someone who wanted to talk about their experience dealing with this. But I ended up just thinking on the spot, and I thought, right, what could we do? Because I don't want it to no longer be part of the agenda. We had created quite an environment where people were very interacting with one another, and the setup of the whole room was round tables.
Oh, nice.
So I thought, I'm just going to switch this into a workshop.
Yeah.
End the day on interactive kind of session. So essentially, it had been a day and a half, the event. So I had already met some of the speakers, or even some of the delegates had interacted with them. And what I did is I just approached friendlies. And myself and the chair, we went and we approached them during the break. And we just said, look, we've had this issue, but we still want to talk this topic. We're going to try and make it interactive. Would you mind if you just stand up? You don't have to go on stage, but you just explain your experience with this. And you can be quite honest. You can be quite transparent, because it's seen as more like a discussion amongst your peers. And it'll help us just get the flow of people thinking, okay, yeah, we're back to discussion on this.
Yeah.
But no one in the room realized that we had selected these people to stand up and like say their experience.
Yeah.
So it felt to them as an audience that it was very natural.
Oh.
Whereas we had really at the coffee break, I had gone up to them and be like, please help me out.
But it's those behind the scenes little bits that we've talked about before, of to make it feel natural, but actually you've done that prep beforehand and said to them, this is what we're going to do.
Exactly.
I mean, did the speaker eventually get to the venue, or were they just like...
No, they did. They rocked up halfway through. And I had to have a very uncomfortable conversation, because they wanted me to stop everything and have them go up on stage.
Oh my God, no.
And I was like, it's already started as a kind of workshop-y,
if you're not going to be
format.
on time and respect the event, you're not going to snap your fingers and stop everything because they've finally showed up.
Yeah, it was really uncomfortable to have that conversation. But also, again, I was in that towards the end of the event. Yeah. I'm over it phase. So I had the conversation with her. It was very much like, thank you but you arrived late. See ya.
Thank you for finally getting here.
Yeah.
At the end of the day as well, like, I feel like that's not an excuse.
I mean, I offered her to be part of to do basically the same thing. That I explained to her what was happening. That I had gone to several people and said, just give your experience. And I offered her to do the same. She didn't want to. There you go. But it is all that about, you do feel in that moment it is a crisis moment when you're having that dropout, and just
Fighting
breathe,
fires.
think about it, and people are going to help you out.
Yeah. I think if you, what was it? Sometimes if you can't get a speaker to replace whoever's dropped out, and especially on a solo session, doing something more interactive is always really good. Leaning on friendly voices in the industry, or if there's like an editorial brand. I love doing like editors' questions or something.
I was going to say that I've done that kind of like almost question time format, like where we were making the audience just kind of like ask anything that you want to our journalists.
I also think that's a great way for them then to get content to use after the event. Yeah. So I always do it when I've done these kind of like any answers sessions, use like Slido or something where you can put in all the questions, and then they'll sit there with the iPad, the questions will be on screen, and then they can just go through whatever topics and everything. But then you can download all of those questions afterwards, and then that can be used for post-event content.
True.
Whether that's marketing that's been done like via the event or something, or if it's like an editorial brand and they can put out articles or something. So it's a benefit to your editorial team as well, and your marketing.
Exactly.
So, and also thinking about your next program or next event that you're doing, you've already sourced what are some of the key questions that your audience are thinking about. So
there's always a shining light, to be honest. At that moment, panic. What am I going to do? Just breathe, and the solution will come to you.
I always find as well, sometimes when those situations happen and you do create this new session and new format that you're doing, it can sometimes be so much more fun than the original idea.
Sure.
I mean, you may not be doing the topic or the content that you originally hoped, and it is annoying when that happens, especially if it's a session you're looking forward to. But doing something slightly on the fly or very new to the overall program can be quite fun. I've definitely done some fun sessions.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots more to discuss in Dropouts, and we actually had thought at one point doing it as a series, but we thought we'd just give you a little bit of a flavour.
A little insight.
An insight.
I think it depends on the session, doesn't it? Because like, how do you handle like a keynote dropout? And working with your agency, especially if you had a huge marketing campaign surrounding like a big keynote speaker, and then handling maybe that disappointment from your audience, but also how is that new keynote going to reflect in with like the overall theming and, you know, about your brand, and working with less prep time, everything from panels and balancing conversation and panelist chemistry to diversity as well. And then, like, I think we talked a lot about solo session dropouts today, but like what happens when you literally can't find anyone, and then what are some of the fun formats that you could do instead? And there's loads more other kind of dropouts, isn't there? So
There are.
we love to fight a fire.
We love it.
Yeah. But great. So thank you guys so much for listening. Another episode of Speakeasy, and we'll catch you on the next one.
See you soon.